Good morning and welcome to the Philippines. Good morning. It's happy Sabbath here. It's Saturday. What's the local time in the Philippines? It's Saturday, July 4th. It's the 4th of July. Wow. July 4th, right? So those are on the other side of the world. You're going to have to wait for July 4th. But for us, it's already the 4th of July. And the local time is 9:53. So good morning from the Philippines. Welcome back to the channel. I am really excited this week to share this week's report with you guys. So many things happened this week. I went from sad news, happy news, stressing environment flying. Just it was a packed week. I literally was flying every day this week. I started Monday and I finished Friday afternoon. So I'm excited, and I know you guys gonna be excited as well. Again, I encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can follow me on Instagram, Missionary Pilot 172. That's my Instagram page. And you can share the content with family and friends and those that you believe that can benefit from these videos. So without further ado, let's get into it. My week started out with crazy winds. Okay, that's how this week greeted me. The winds were picking up this week. A lot of my flights required me to be out all day, sometimes late afternoon. It was all about the winds. So I have a nice little app here that helps me to calculate my wind direction, so I know which airport I want to land. I mean, which runway I want to use. So my first trip, first patient, I'm gonna pick up this patient. I got a request that someone met in an accident Sunday morning. Basically, the individual was drinking, they were drunk, they crossed into the opposite lane, they had a head-on collision, cracked skull, bleeding. He lost one of his eyes, and it was a terrible mess. But we show up because that's our job, medical evacuations. On my way there, I picked up these two government workers. They are actually surveyors who they work in that island doing surveys. So they've been stranded for a while, and so they have requested that on my way to pick up the patient, could I transport them and their things to that island? So I picked them up and I just asked them, hey, could we just take a little picture here for reporting? So praise the Lord, they were able to get to their destination. Due to the COVID requirements, they had to leave their stuff in the sun for an hour before they could actually get it. So this is a no non-COVID area, and so they're like, put your stuff there. So I saw them standing in the sun, and I remember I went over and I said, are they allowing you two to stand in the sun as well for an hour before you can go into your quarantine area? They said, no, 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 sir. So, for me personally, I do take a lot of personal interest in the well-being of my patients and passengers that actually fly with me, because I see things and I ask questions so I can understand what's happening with them. So they left, and now it's time to put this patient on the airplane. So these are three nurses coming in to assist. It's actually four nurses. They're coming in to assist me to get the patient in the airplane. Um, when we put the patient in the airplane, I had a relative that was going to accompany us on the flight. Dropping him off is going to take 1 hour and 30 minutes flight time. While I was putting the relative in the front seat to put the seatbelt on, I had the patient come in. He's lying down. I have him seatbelt secure. He's strapped and everything. He started getting very restless. And as he got restless, the aunt is trying to stabilize him. He's speaking in the language I don't understand, and he actually got off the board. First, he started to unloosen the chest strap because it's an accident, so they're trying to keep him on a spinal board so there's no movement. He fought his way out of the seatbelt. He unfastened his seatbelt. He pulled the shoulder strap off. And next, he was sitting up in the plane, and he's saying he needs to take a pee. He's thirsty. Just chaos. Then finally, he popped the IV off. Blood now begins to gush all over the airplane, and I had to just quickly try to stop the blood from making a mess. His relative grabbed the arm and put pressure on the wound, and I yelled for help because the ambulance already left. This is just moments before securing everyone in the airplane and getting ready to take off. The patient is not stable. So they had to call the ambulance to come back and the doctors as well, and the lady's holding on, blood gushing from her hand. So I told her to grab the sheet that was on the stretcher board and put it underneath to help catch some of the blood in, try not to stain the carpet in the airplane. And long story short on this one, I ended up leaving the island without transporting him for many reasons. One, there was a big safety issue. He is not stable. They said they were going to give him some sedatives. They gave it to him. 5, 10 minutes later, he's still not putting him to sleep. And I didn't have a nurse that I could have brought with me for this patient. When they put in the request, they didn't specify that they need a nurse. None of these nurses was able to go with me. So I told them, based on the fact that no nurse can go with me or a doctor, to help keep the patient calm, I cannot transport the patient. And it was just a heart-rending thing for me because it's 4 hours flight round trip to get to this island, only to do it and go back home empty. So as I flew along, my heart was just melted with the fact that his skull is cracked. It's a severe head injury. I remember he had the accident Sunday morning. I'm looking at him Monday morning, and the blood looks fairly fresh. He's still bleeding. It's disoriented from the head injury. And I did my part, but there's just nothing else I could have done to help him. So I was just prayerfully asking the Lord to, just be with him, and I hope that he recovers. I haven't heard any news that he died or anything, so that's good. I hope that he'll just be a fighter and survive. And a timely reminder, stay away from alcohol, and if you do ride a motorcycle, wear a helmet. Those are the two things that led to this accident case. I never get tired of seeing this volcano. I always pass it along my route. The last time it erupted was 96 years ago, and research says it's no longer active. So again, told you the winds this week, they were just saying, let me see what you got. Half the environment I fly in now, I was not flying in these environments when I was in flight school. They were not this intense. So I was coming in, and tower cleared me to land on an airstrip, and I mean a runway. When I have this little app. I put in the wind direction and the orientation of the runway, and I found out that the runway that they were assigning to me was gonna be more challenging and more uncomfortable. I mean, I can land on it if I had no other choice, but why do I want to put my patients and passenger in that environment? So I requested the opposite, which gave me these figures. I had a less crosswind and I had more headwind component. And yes, I did grease that landing because of good aeronautical decision making. My instructor will love that term, right? So that was a good ADM. Basically after the failure to complete that first mission, my next mission was to take this family home, this mom and her son. And basically, they're about to lock down another area. So they opened things up a little bit, and the COVID cases began to rise. So they decided to go in another lockdown, and they needed to get home before this lockdown. So I'm already out. I'm passing that way, so I just picked them up and I took them home. The little kid here, very talkative. They were, he was asking a lot of questions and so on. So we do help stranded people. And this is the same day. This is still Monday. After I dropped them off, I went to another little area and I picked up these two patients. Um, I won't get into details of their cases, but patient is patient, and when they need us, we make sure that we are always there. To top it off, my last leg home. This is Deputy Chief of Police for one of the areas where I operate. Um, Sometimes they will assign him a month at his location or 2 weeks, and he will go in, serve. And he lives in our area. He's just maybe um, 15, 20 minutes drive away from the hangar. So usually when I'm coming home, I'm alone. So it's always a blessing. I always tell him, you're my partner at times when I gotta bring him. I drop everyone off, and then he will accompany me on the last leg to get back to base. Deputy Chief of Police. Um, I never take coming home for granted. So this is my tracker. It's a device that it's my only means of communication, especially when I'm over the waters and my phone doesn't work. I have a little tracking device that I can send text messages to. It sends out my coordinates every 5 minutes. It's something that it's like 25 to 27 bucks a month, and it has a search and rescue option. So if anything happens where I have any difficulties and I need to do an emergency landing, I can always press that button. I can send a text back home. I can text my contacts and let them know engine failure or something. So I usually just take a screenshot, and as you can see, it forms like a V, which this means blessed or blessed, right? Not busy. It was a busy day, but it was a blessing to be of help to individuals, and I never take coming home for granted. So Tuesday, I got some sad news on Sunday. So Tuesday, I got a ray of hope. What was the sad news? I'll tell you what the sad news that I got later on. This is patient. It's an AMTA. They are the reasons why. They're the main reasons why we exist. They are the real Filipinos. I call them the real Filipinos. The native Filipinos, they're in isolated areas, no job, low income, they get sick easily. And so we are always willing to help them. This is a couple, I think she's 18 years old. I remember I looked on her patient form. I think she's 18 years old. This is her husband. And this is their first baby, right? So she was having complications. They're from, I think, episode one. They were having complications. She was having complications. I evacuated her, and next thing I know, I got a message. Cap, do you have a flight this week? The patient that you had transferred before, she got to the hospital, she gave birth, and it's a beautiful little baby. I so I'm going through all this stress, these challenges, sad news, and then here comes just some good news to lighten up my week. So I was so blessed and happy to take this little baby home, very quiet during the flight. And I remember when they came to the hangar, because I've seen them before, and I don't know, I'm black, they're black, so I guess, but the husband gave me that look, and his eyes just light up when he saw, I'm gonna be his pilot for today. And so it was just a blessing to take this mom and her first baby home. So the baby lived, she lived, and that's a family there. It's pregnant week. It's pregnancy week, guys. This is the week where everyone that can get pregnant was pregnant. So it's another complicated birth experience again. Um, this lady basically is having complications, and I had to rush her out, and that's her husband, and I just took a nice little photo with them. When I got there, that's where I dropped them off. um, this is an app again that continues to keep me alive. It helps me with situational awareness. And as you can see here, when I take off, I have these little waypoints. The red means these are mountainous terrains, and the yellow is like it's still mountain, but based on my altitude, red means that I'm low and I would hit that spot. Yellow is you're be careful, it's caution. So every time I fly this route, I'm always singing a little song. I'll be coming around the mountains. I'm coming around the mountains. So I remember it was a $25 app for my iPad that helps me with situational awareness. I have instruments in the airplane, but my little brain says, what if this one fails? And what if that one fails? So I have like a full list of gadgets that if they all fail, I always tell people, if all my four gadgets fail, that's just the Lord's way of saying he's ready to take me out of this world. But I have a long list. So if this one fails, I have this one and this one and this one. And I make sure that my iPad is always charged, my phone is always charged. I have a power bank that can charge my iPad twice. So I make sure I do my part in being equipped and ready to handle whatever challenge may arise. So when I asked my wife to buy this app for me, it was a $27 purchase. And yeah, we don't have a lot of money, but I told her, listen, 25 bucks cannot bury me. So in case anything fails, can you get me this app so that it can help? And every time I use it, it's always a blessing. We have more sick people again. So Tuesday, I'm back in the flight deck, flying again. And these are individuals. Again, I don't always share all the cases with about all my patients, but it's always a blessing to pick them up and take them to wherever they need to go to help them to get medical attention. I was heavy this week and I had to leave this patient. I mean, this is a frontliner nurse. I could not transport him, so I reserved him for another day. So, when that happens, they come to the airport, you cannot bring them. It's a small airplane, and these are the times that I'm like, Lord, I wish I had a bigger airplane. But I don't have a bigger airplane. So every now and then, I have to sadly tell people, I'm sorry, the weight is going to be too heavy. I cannot transport you. And it's not easy to tell them that because many of them, when you tell them you can't bring them today, they just break down in tears, especially during the COVID times. They are going through a lot of stress. They're isolated away from family members. These are not always sick individuals, but they're trying to hitch a ride to get home. We have the space sometimes we don't. And when I do get to bring them the next time, you just see the joy in their faces. So it was a blessing to transport him. I guess my little missionary patrol was feeling left out and paying little or no attention. I hardly drive these days. I was out this week mainly flying, a lot of people. My oil change was coming up. I needed to do my oil change, so it was a blessing. I just got down and got my oil change done. And I was just looking at the experience and I said, it's such a blessing that little by little the Lord is teaching me how to do these little things because as a missionary pilot, I'm not financially compensated for what I do. So the more things I'm able to do for myself, the less money I require to survive. So something as simple as an oil change, I can do it with my eyes closed. And some little things I don't take it for granted. That the Lord is teaching me mechanical stuff. He's teaching me how to maintain things, and it was a blessing. One good thing about this vehicle is that I'm excited for episode 6 because I'm going to be using this patrol. You have to stay tuned for that. I'm going to be using this vehicle to transport a pastor. So first, I'm going to fly him, I'm going to pick him up, and then I'm going to take him. He has something special that's attached to the trip. He needs to go in to submit his report. An Adventist pastor, one of my contacts, he needs to go submit his report to the conference. He needs to get supplies for his church members. Due to the COVID, he does not have a public commute option. So this little blessed missionary Nissan Patrol will be the means of transporting him. I have a rapid pass valid until December, so I can go through 1,000,000 checkpoints. No one will. I present my pass ID and I just keep going. So I changed the oil so that Monday this week I can be of service to that pastor in ministry. Again, my app continues to help me to stay alive over the waters. I have things in the airplane, but it's always good to have gadgets and devices that can minimize the workload. I'm about to go on another long trip again. So this little island up here, it's Bosco. When I do this trip and I calculate everything where I pick up these I'm looking at least almost 6 hours of flight. I left home at 7:30 in the morning. It's gonna be a long day. And the sad story behind this is I'm picking up a patient that I transported about 1 or 2 weeks ago. He's not able to do the operation, so they decide to go home. Because I don't know if it's financial or what, but they're not able to do the operation, so he wants to go back home. And whenever I get those requests that says the hospital cannot help, I need to go back home, that's usually an indication that all hope is lost and they just want to go back home and die. So sadly, I accepted the request and I took up the mission to take them home. When I got to the airport, again, the winds are saying, let me see what you got. I had to deal with a 10 knot crosswind. Now, when you're dealing with crosswinds, basically, you're flying along, and this is your direction, right? You're facing the runway like this. The wind is coming this side, so basically, it's gonna blow you this way. So when you're doing a crosswind situation, you have to turn your nose. Actually, why am I using a speakerphone? Hold on, guys. I should use a real airplane for that demonstration, right? Yeah. So a little about crosswind landing is it tests your pilot skills, and you have to know your personal limit. You also need to know the limit of the airplane. So an airplane is like a windmill. It will tell you which direction the wind is coming from because it just naturally goes into the wind. If the wind is coming from the right, it just naturally turns into the wind without your effort. So when you're coming in for a crosswind landing now, you have to turn your nose in the direction the wind is coming from. So in this case, the wind is coming from to my right because I'm landing 06 because it's basically an upslope. So the runway goes up this hill and there's a mountain in front of it. So I never want to land down the hill. I always want to land up the hill. And the wind, it is what it is. So on this flight, I was like this, we call it crabbing. So my nose is pointing this way, but I'm coming towards you. I'm coming towards the script. And then last minute, you got to kick your rudder, realign your wheels with the runway. Because if you land like this, you're going to flip over. So you cannot land sideways. You come in on the approach, and then last minute, you're going to kick the rudder, and then you touch down. This week, I had to do that multiple times, and that's what it took to get the mission completed. So yes, I am praying and God is helping me, but it does test one's skill to pull these landings off. And I every time I walk away from one, Lord, thank you. You helped me. We landed safely and so on. This is the family. And I remember when they got off the airplane, this is grandpa, grandson, and dad. When I was helping them to unpack the luggage, I remember the dad, he looked at me and he said, are you a Seventh day Adventist? And I said, yes, I'm a Seventh day Adventist. He said, I'm a Seventh day Adventist as well. I was Catholic before, but now I'm a Seventh day Adventist. He said, I said, I'd love to come to Batanes outside of a medevac flight and maybe do a sermon at the church or something. He said, oh, Cap, we would love to have you here. And, he has my number, I have his. And he sent me some text messages that it just melted my heart because I looked at it and I said, Lord, he was so grateful. Most of the people I transport are not Seventh day Adventists. But here's a Seventh day Adventist man. The dad, and I was thinking, I completed the mission, but he's still sick. And you know what I realized? I realized that my mission is not necessarily to cure people. My mission is to give them hope amidst the chaos and the challenges they're having. Because imagine the hospital cannot do anything for you. and you are in an area where you're not from, there's no family, you're running out of money, we're in a COVID lockdown situation, and you're just craving to go home. When I take them home, it gives them a ray of hope. It gives them the sunshine. It's like the silver lining amidst the dark clouds. And so that's what kind of keep me going out there when I'm overwhelmed emotionally with the what's happening. They're bleeding, they're hurting, they're in pain, they're stressed out, they're afraid of flying. What what helps me to console myself is the fact that amidst this chaos, here comes the silver lining. So I put myself together and I shed tears underneath my shades and I dry my tears and I just focus. I said, Lord, help me to fly this airplane and get this family home. So they were a real blessing. On my way back, I picked up these four guys. It's two frontliners and two police officers. I was heavy coming out, but the headwind. So that's a good thing. Tailwind will interfere with you when you're landing a crosswind, but when you're taking off, that kind of wind is perfect. All you gotta do is just turn into it and then just let that air flow over your wings and it'll lift you up. So I was able to transport them, and they were so happy. Cop, I remember the headwind was very strong when I was landing, and the airplane just gently sat on the ground. And I remember this one was in the front seat. He gave me that thumbs up. It's like, and I remember I heard them in the back seat, "Oh, Galing," which is, "Oh, this guy's a good pilot." And I pointed to the wind and I said, "It's very strong." I think it was like 50 knots straight on the nose. That wind just cushioned the plane and gave me a really nice, smooth landing. And so they were grateful for that. Right after picking them up, I'm back to patience again. It's another long day. It's about 6 hours of flight again. I had more patients waiting for me. So I ended up picking up some more patients and taking them home. I took a picture. This one was intense. There was a family traveling. They've been in lockdown situation. They had to do swab tests. They're trying to get back home. They don't have money. They're really struggling. And I remember the airport manager texted me. He said, "Cop, the wind is very strong. It's crosswind." And I said to them, "Okay, it's within limits, but it's gonna test my skills." So I told my contact to translate for me. I said, "Tell them we're gonna try to land one time. I'm just gonna give it one try, and I have enough fuel and I have time. If I cannot make that landing, I have an alternate 15 minutes to the south, and they're just gonna have to stay there for a while until I can go back. But give them a heads up. If I can't do it, and I remember I came in and again, I'm like this, okay? Full deflection. I'm coming in, and I kick that rudder and I put it down, and I kid you not. A lot of these people are not religious, okay? A lot of them. And some are like Catholics, Muslims, etc. Um, when I land and I pull something like that off, guess what? They begin to shout, "Praise the Lord! Thank you, Lord! Oh, I salamat ang Diyos!" They just begin to yell. They're happy because they see the challenge. They see the environment. So when they see that plane touch down safely and they look around and they're safe, they know that it was God that helped them to get home and not my pilot skills. So I'm rejoicing in my heart, but they can't hold it inside, so they just blurt it out. "Thank you, Lord. Oh, thank you, Lord. Oh, thank you, Lord." So as a missionary pilot, you never get tired of hearing that. Um, so I was flying. This is the same day again. I got this message. So I was on my way to that little small island when I got this message from Pastor Milky saying, "Cop, by the way, there's one more additional patient pregnant, soon to deliver her baby." Now, I kid you not. I struggle with pregnant ladies because I'm always thinking, "Oh, are they gonna give birth in the airplane? Please don't give birth in the airplane, Lord. Please don't. Hold it, hold it." And I'm always looking. So, anyways, she didn't give birth in the airplane. The problem though was I'm running out of time. The airport closed in 15 minutes from when I picked her up, and it's a 30-minute flight. So I knew I'm not gonna make it. So I told the pastor, message someone at the airport, tell them it's a medevac. I wasn't scheduled, but the baby's about to be born, stuff is happening. And I basically put my license on the risk. I said, okay, I may lose my license over this. I may be fined, I may be scolded, I may be put in jail, whatever the consequence is, doesn't matter to me. I'm gonna put all on the table here and risk going in. I contacted one government officials. I said, ma'am, I'm 20 minutes from landing. I don't have confirmation. The airport is closed. Call someone, coordinate it. I'm going in. It's a patient, it's an emergency, and I know the airport is closed. So I'm there sweating and okay, I tuned that out and I focus on the flight. I said, okay, whatever happens after this, it's fine. My conscience will be free, but I gotta go in. I got in there, and when I shut down the engine, I said to them, I looked at them, I said, I may lose my license for this. I may be put in jail, but at least it's two patients, tuberculosis with diabetes and a pregnant lady. I said, at least you're in a better place to get better medical care. When the health workers came and the police came, I said to them, am I going to go to jail for doing this? And you know what? The health worker said, Cop, no. Cop, thank you so much for the sacrifice that you put in helping these people. So I said, so I can take off and go home even though the airport is closed? Oh, yes, yes, Cop. And I kid you not. As soon as they said that, the patient is in the ambulance. They cleared the airport. Clear prop, started the engine. 20 minutes later, I was home. I was home. I left home at 7:30. I got home at 4. And when Irene came out, she said, wow, this is the latest that you have been out. I said, it was a long day, but praise the Lord, He helped me to make it back safely. Um, my last missions was Friday. I thought, that day stretched me. I was like, man, I've been flying Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I told all my contact Thursday, don't call me unless someone has died, okay? I wouldn't mind taking the day off. I'm so tired and overwhelmed. I wouldn't mind taking the day off. But maybe if I just go to bed, sleep, and wake up. So I got in, 4 o'clock. I went for multiple walks down the airport because flying, you have this adrenaline rush and all that blood rush into the brain. I cannot just come home and sleep. Sometimes I cannot even just come home and eat. I have to like do something physical to have the blood flow differently or something. So, anyways, I got in and I walked, and next thing you know, after resting in the night, woke up in the morning, Cop, we have sick people again. What's happening? I'm not going to get into details, but people are sick and they need help. And it's critical cases. So I got some rest and I headed out. I had more sick people. This 10-year-old is having kidney problems, right? And so I had to rush her out, and that's her grandpa. Grandpa is also sick. I won't tell you what's happening with grandpa. It's private, it's personal. But these patients, they're hurting. They're they, they don't have a boat option. They don't have a personal vehicle to take them wherever option. It's either the hospital where they are can help, or they can't, and they're gonna die, or call Thomas, call the missionary pilot to come with the airplane, and we go in and we transport them. This again, it's Friday. It's a packed day, 3.5 hours. So I went through that Thursday, Friday. I had a full schedule. I had 5 patients lined up, and I pay attention to details. When I drop them off, I don't just go. If I still have paperwork, flight planning, I kind of pay attention. And I noticed that the ambulance didn't pick up everyone, and this lady was left behind. And the challenge she's having is that she is just basically not a lot of complicated issue. But anyway, she was left in the sun, right? She's left in the sun, uh, not directly, but it's a tent. And I don't think anyone knew she was a patient. So she's just sitting there. I'm passing to go submit my flight plan. And I stopped. I said, ma'am, my service na kayo. Do you have service? She said, yes. I said, oh, ilang minutes po? How many minutes before your service comes or whoever? She's like, I'm not sure. So I pointed to the security guard and I said to them, this is my patient that I transported. Can you put her in the waiting area where there's air con or a fan to keep her cool because she has pain, she's suffering and so on. And when I did that, I grabbed her bag and I remember her heart was just warmed by that. And she said, yeah, Cap, I'm praying. I said, we're praying for you as well. So that was a blessing to go beyond the extra mile. This kid was a patient before and he's going home and they had cabbage, they had medicine for their island. And I said, oh yeah, let me take a picture with you. Medical supplies and food transporting. And then last but not least was another senior, my last patient for the day. He was patient number 13 for this week. Yeah, this week I had 13 patients. I transported him. Again, you can go over to my channel. This was the sad news that I got. Episode 4, or yeah, episode 4, I transported a cancer patient that wanted to go home. She died. But the family, the nurse took the time off to let me know that may she rest in peace. Thank you. Be safe for all your upcoming flights. Tomorrow is another day, which she sent me this Sunday. So this was how my week started out. This sad news. But again, we give a ray of hope. At least she died at home with her family instead of some hospital, right? She was lying in the airplane. She couldn't stay up. She lied there. And at least before she died, I had her on this foam in my arms. And it was not me embracing her. It was the Lord using me to embrace her, to let her know, in spite of where you are and what's happening, I still love you and I still care for you. And I know the family's heart was really blessed by our ministry in helping them to see their loved ones one more time. Some good news. I cannot end without this, guys. This is the best news ever. This is my patient before. She did the brain surgery and the surgery was successful. The bill was like this, and she needs to go home, right? And she messaged me, Cap, I'd like to go back home to see my family, but I don't have money. I calculated I don't have the fuel to take her home. After they recover, they're on their own. We help them when they're sick and critical. But she was a little close to my heart, so I did the unthinkable. I messaged some folks on my Facebook. I said, I know I don't ask you guys for money for my personal need, but there's a patient. She did the surgery. She needs to go back home, and I don't have the fuel on hand to help her. It's $400 that it's going to take. Can you help me? And you know what, friends? Someone said, yeah, I can help. One of my good friend, like a brother to me, he gave the $400 donation. At first I thought he gave 200. I only got an email that is 200. And so I contacted other people. One of them, I even contacted one of my ex-girlfriend, okay? I was that desperate to help this thing. I contacted my ex-girlfriend that is in the States. I said, I know I've never asked you for anything, but I'm just impressed. I have this need for someone. How much do you? I said, even if it's $1, help me. Because I got an email that it was just 200 that guy sent. So I'm like, man, I need more. And I asked my friend in Canada to help me as well. And he got 100, so it was 300, only to find out that he actually sent another 200, so it was 400. So now there's an extra 100. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to let the person know that we reached the goal. And if they want to donate it to someone else or something else in our ministry, or they want it back, whichever, I'm just happy. And by the way, if she's watching this, then she will know. She didn't know that I was doing that behind her back. So she said she has her last checkup on the 7th, and then she will let me know. And I kept texting her, just keep praying, just keep praying. We'll see how God provides. God has provided, and I'm excited to take her back home. And that was the day when I transported her. Again, we continue to solicit your help. We're still just halfway there. It's a $1,700 purchase to replace something on the airplane. We're just still halfway there. And if God is providing the finances in other areas for patients and so on, we know that He will provide the rest of the finances to help to keep this airplane going, to help other individuals so that they can receive a blessing with their flights. You can go over to my website. If you're impressed and you like what we're doing, you can go to my website, By His Stripes Ministries 1844.com, and you can make a donation, whether it be personal needs or aircraft needs. Partner with us to help save lives and deliver hope. You know, on behalf of everyone here at Philippines Adventist Medical Aviation Services, we could not do this without your help. Without you in the picture, praying, donating, encouraging, emailing, calling, texting, I would just feel so alone out there. But when I know I have a community of friends and family and strangers alike partnering with me, with their donations, with their prayers, when we get to heaven, folks, God is going to say, you know, you didn't fly the airplane, but you wrote a check. You didn't help to refuel it, but you gave a donation. You didn't have a donation, but you took time out each day to offer up a word of prayer. I heard those prayers. Maybe you didn't just pray, but he will say, you know what? There are times the missionary pilot was discouraged and stressed, but you took the time out and you sent an email to lift his soul and lift his spirit and encourage him. And I just want to say, thank you. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your support. May God bless you and your family for what you have done, for what you're doing. And I'm excited for episode 6 coming next week. God bless. Thank you. And bye bye.